Taxi slash Uber slash Lyft drivers of Reddit, what are the most interesting slash entertaining slash fucked up situations that happened to you during the shift? Friend of mine visiting New York City took a taxi back to his hotel late night. Riding in the back he found a small women's clutch purse thing. Inside was the ID of a 19-year-old girl and the business card of a police officer in a town neighboring state. The police officer had the same last name as the girl, so my friend figured the officer was the girl's father and she carried the card in case she ever needed to get herself out of a traffic ticket or something. My friend figures he can leave a voicemail on the officer's business number when he gets back to the hotel, then leave the purse at the hotel front desk for the girl to come pick up. So that is exactly what he does as soon as he gets up to the hotel room. About 3 hours later, now 3 or 4 am, he is in a deep sleep when loud knocks on his hotel room door wake him up. It's a bunch of NYPD detectives who want to know all the details of how he found the purse, like where he originally hailed the cab, etc. Turns out the girl was indeed the daughter of the cop on the business card, and she had been missing for a few days. The discovery of her clutch purse was the first sign of her that had popped up. My friend had paid for the cab via credit card and had kept the receipt, so he was able to pass that along to the detectives who, presumably, were able to use that to track down the cab driver and find out any information he could provide. Ultimately my friend doesn't know what happened. The cops never contacted him again. This has to be the craziest story on this thread so far. I really hope the police found the girl, because that's heartbreaking. Not a driver, but was recently a passenger in an Uber. It was a Monday morning, so of course I was a little down and not in the mood to talk too much. The driver starts going on about how beautiful the weather is and starts explaining a good day starts with being positive. She then asked if I would like to see her book. I was a little confused, but I said sure. She starts explaining that she carries this scrapbook with index cards and markers for all of her riders. She said she usually asks them to write some sort of positive message or just tells them they can simply write whatever they want. This book was filled with notes from people where we live, outside of the area, and even from people traveling from outside of the country. Some writing uplifting messages, some writing random funny lines, some drunks scribbling support for our sports teams. Just so many different messages from so many random people on different walks in life. Before I got out, I told her how the messages completely turned my Monday around for the better, and I really appreciate what she does. She simply said, if she can bring a smile to someone's face, her day is made. I now always hope that I have the same driver whenever I request an Uber, so I get a chance to continue reading the book of positivity. That was surprisingly wholesome. I kept expecting her to stab him or throw some coke in his car. Wholesome Uber moments. I matched with a girl on Tinder by accident and she messaged me saying she liked PBR, which is in one of my pictures. Being awkward and not wanting to waste her time, I just unmatched without saying anything. Around this time I was near the beginning of my brief tenure as an Uber driver, and who the fuck do you think I pick up the very next day? I immediately try to slouch hoping she doesn't recognize me, and after 5 minutes of silence, right when I think I'm in the clear, she says, hey, did we match on Tinder? To which I reply, I don't think so. Then she says, yeah, I messaged you about PBR, and then you unmatched me. And I just let out a feeble kind of oh, yeah. Then I look down at my GPS, and there's 25 minutes left in this ride. I did not get a tip. Oh man, I bet you got cramps from cringing so hard. I'm not suicidal, but I was hoping for a violent wreck with me as the only casualty. Picked up 2 guys from a hotel. Destination is in the Hollywood Hills. When we are navigating up the winding roads of the hills, one of the guys mentions that he hates going to famous football player's house because he always gets a little car sick. He tells me he knows this player because he plays for the famous player's alma mater and is in town to work out for the NFL draft that year. This house is at the top of a hill with a beautiful view. When we get there, the drafted asks me to wait for a couple minutes, and he enters the house. After a while, he gets back in the car and tells me I'm gonna follow 3 other cars to Six Flags. First car is a big, black Suburban followed by 2 luxury German sedans, and here I'm with my economy car with an Uber sticker on it. I picked up a guy who either refused to pay a hooker from the night before or didn't know she was a lady of the night. She proceeded to follow us. Finally he gets a call from someone. Seemed like it scared him because he told me to bring him back to his place. She followed us back there. I promptly left. Probably should have kicked him out sooner. That's why you always count your money beforehand and put it aside in your bag before the transaction of services. Emoji. Picked a guy up from a strip club around 5 PM. He had clearly been there for a while and was talkative drunk. He started talking to a friend on his phone and kept saying he couldn't go into detail because he had a lady driver. He told me he was going home and then taking his daughter out to a basketball game because there was a after game concert she was very excited about. Little did he know, or I know, because I was just following the GPS, that he had been routed to her high school. Dude's in a rumpled suit, smells like strip club, and is clearly not sober. He got a resolved look, handed me a few singles, said thanks for the ride boo, and just hitched up his pants like a man embracing his shitty situation. Had a former NFL player live tweet from my backseat that he wanted to punch me in the mouth because I was chewing gum and he could hear it. Never said a word to me. I didn't even realize I was doing it. Maybe be an adult and let someone know next time instead of threatening them on social media like a little bitch. The folks driving you are people too. Were you chewing with your mouth open or closed? Back in the 70s as a student I drove a taxi in the weekends and some evenings/nights to earn some extra money. One time, late at night I got a call to pick a guy up at his home. At arrival the guy hops in the back with a sports bag with few rifles sticking out. I could see that in my rearview mirror. He wanted me to drive out of town to some B road, and in the middle of nowhere he told me to stop the car on a small road in an area with a lot of trees, hopped out of the car with his bag, came back few minutes later without the bag, and told me to head back to his place and drop him off. He gave me a huge tip and this is the first time I ever mentioned this happened. I was a passenger for this one, but I've been fucking mortified ever since, so I'm gonna put it on the internet to make the memory less powerful. So, I had had a miscarriage 5 days earlier and I was resolutely continuing with my life because not continuing with it would have involved telling people why I needed to take a few days, and I just really didn't want to because I hadn't even disclosed that I was pregnant in the first place. So I was Ubering to work in my numb emotional haze. The driver had this aggressively Christian music playing, which was fine, until one of the songs got really into babies. It was something like, "Baby Jesus is the holiest thing ever, and you've just got to love him, with his little feet and his little face and his innocence and all this pure love in your heart because baby." So I, somewhat frantically cause I'm half a degree away from bawling my eyes out in this Uber, go, "Sorry, can you change the station?" And the driver goes, "Why? I just really need you to change the station. Do you not like Christian music? Please just change the station." So she changes the station and gives me a weird look, and for like 2 seconds I'm taking deep breaths and thinking, okay, this is fine. I can keep it together. I can contain this situation to just that one time I gave a ride to a panicked atheist as far as she's concerned. And then I went ahead and cried my fucking eyes out anyway, while the driver gave me a rather alarmed look, and her perception of the situation probably became that one time I gave a ride to an atheist who might need an exorcism, IDK. She didn't ask, so I just stumbled out of the car and went to work with no more words exchanged between us. And then, when I was coming home from work, I got the same driver again. And I got in the car and she immediately turned the radio off and drove me home in complete silence. I wouldn't feel mortified. If anything, the driver should feel mortified for antagonizing the situation by asking their passenger multiple times why instead of just switching the station. Not a driver, but had a mate pull up the handbrake in a moving taxi last week after a big night out. Thought it'd be hilarious to do a runner straight after it came screeching to a stop. Guess who left their iPhone with a special wallet case sitting on the seat? Ha. Karma at its finest. Truly deserved by the sounds of it. I think the coolest thing not many people realize about Uber/Lyft is you have no hours or set times to work. So when I used to work in a college town, I would often get invited into places or parties, and if I had made enough money or it seemed slow, I would just sign off and see where the night took me. Damn, you're cool.